During a closed-door preview of Monster Hunter Wilds, we had the opportunity to sit down with Ryozo Tsujimoto and Kaname Fujioka from Capcom to explore the upcoming installment of the beloved monster hunting franchise. The interview revealed a wealth of insights into the game's design philosophy, innovative features, and the team's nuanced approach to evolving the Monster Hunter experience. After trying out the game, we felt that cutscenes in the game were a lot more than the previous installments, and it seems that the developer team wants to put more focus on storytelling this time. Can the development team comment on this? Fujioka-san answered, so kind of comparing how the theme came to play in World. For instance, World was really focused on the monster's ecology and how it would behave in the environment of the Monster Hunter universe. So that was a big theme in Monster Hunter World, and also the monster's relationship with the hunter. Compared to that in Monster Hunter Wilds, the main theme is still kind of expressing the ecology of the monsters, but this time also adding people and humans into kind of that mix of what about the humans' ecology and how humans behave in such a civilization, and kind of combining monsters and humans, that sort of relationship, and relating that back to the hunter themselves. It will kind of, I think, reveal a different dynamic than everybody has seen so far. And so far as to say how humans feel about hunters in relation to the hunter's existence itself in the Monster Hunter universe. So there's definitely a lot more sort of human drama and that sort of storytelling coming into play. And one of the reasons is because a big theme of Wilds is to kind of express like the human ecology within the Monster Hunter universe. Congalala, Yian Kut-Ku, and Gypsaros are first-gen monsters. With Monster Hunter Wilds, the series is moving into the 6th gen. Beginner-friendly first-gen monsters such as Congalala and Yian Kut-Ku behave in a more comical way compared to monsters that were introduced in later gens, which are often more realistic. How do the developers tackle this when implementing monsters from the first gen? Fujioka-san had this to say. So monsters like Congalala and Yian Kut-Ku have appeared in past generations, even though some fans may consider the monsters that have newly appeared in new generations to be more serious or realistic. Every monster that's appeared so far in the series is part of the entire Monster Hunter universe, so there wasn't any real need from the development team to kind of change the past monsters' behaviors or tone to fit the current generation. So to say, it's the way you see the monsters in the current game is how we feel the monsters will behave, just as true to their original kind of concept, so they will continue to stay the monsters that they were in the past, now in the future iteration as well. It's amazing how the team keeps coming up with new monsters for each game. So how did the hardware improvements allow the developers to explore design concepts that weren't possible before, for both the herd monsters and apex predators? Fujioka-san answered, so definitely with the kind of improvement of hardware and technologies, there has been new concepts that have been able to be realized in the newer games. So like what you mentioned in terms of the herd monsters in the past, it would definitely have been really hard and almost not possible to make herds of big monsters because of just how many monsters are existing in one field of vision at the same time. So that's definitely one thing that we were able to bring to life with hardware and technological improvements. Another one would be the monster that's right now currently dubbed as the Black Flame that came out with the 5th trailer of the game. That monster you can kind of see has tentacles in the trailer, so that kind of a bunch of tentacles and all moving at the same time, that sort of really detailed expression of the monster as well was something that we were able to realize with technological improvements. And another thing would be with the main monster, Arkvel, who's in the trailers, as you can see, has a very unique movement in the way it moves its tail, almost like a whip. And that sort of movement as well, very detailed, and to make sure it's like a smooth and high quality rendering of that sort of stuff was also something that we were able to bring to life in the new game. Can you tell us how Seikret was designed, from its visual to its gameplay? Like why it looks like a dinosaur or its ability to bring the second weapon and auto move? Fujioka-san said, so one point that I can say in terms of the design of the Seikret is to match with its role as a supporter for the hunter's traversal this time. One thing that I thought about was, for instance, making the Seikret 4 limbs as opposed to 2 just being like a bird. And also something like its ability to kind of not fly but like glide through the sky. So those are some design points that I really put a lot of thought into when thinking about the general design for the Seikret. And with regards to the gameplay and the game mechanics of the Seikret itself is they need to tie into its design aspects to the fact that this time in Monster Hunter Wilds, you have the hunter kind of being in a very expansive field and their freedom to roam wherever they want, to fight whatever monsters they want without having the need to return to base camp every single time. So that sort of necessity was what informed the design of the Seikret in terms of having the 2 weapons and then having the pouch for the items to carry with you wherever you go. So it doesn't break the immersion and the progression for the player having to go back to the base camp every single time to change their weapon or change their items. So that's something that we definitely put a lot of thought into when designing the Seikret. Physical aspects of the design, we also put a lot of care into that as well. And for the last question for this video, what's your personal favorite aspect of this game? Is it the world, the monster, or the mechanics? And why? Fujioka-san said, it's very hard for developers to say this is my favorite thing in the game. because when you're making the entire game, you put all of your love into it. So for me as the art director of the game, definitely what I put the most love and care into is the world building and the concept and the designs of every single aspect of the game. For instance, the monsters and the locales. I worked with all designers to make that as high quality and as great as possible. So for me, I definitely really want the players to experience the game's world building and also all of the unique designs and concepts that we came up for this game. Particularly because this time the setting itself is the Forbidden Lands. So how that setting ties into the game's story progression and the unique expressions that will be born then from the player continuing to kind of exist in that world is something that's going to be unique to players. And I'm very confident that players will find maybe even some surprising aspects to that as they experience the game. While Tsujimoto-san said, "So for me, obviously of course you can't pick one specific thing. But one kind of specific part that I'm very fond of is to express how unique the Monster Hunter design and kind of its existence within kind of, the thousands of games that you might encounter in your lifetime. So everything from the design of the weapons to the design of the gameplay, the progression itself, is something very unique to the Monster Hunter series in general. So I'm very excited for players to come into contact with that, the uniqueness of Monster Hunter as a game and to experience everything that it has to offer." That concludes our video on Ryozo Tsujimoto and Kaname Fujioka from Capcom during a closed-door preview of Monster Hunter Wilds. For the full interview, check out the article on our website gamerbraves.com. What do you think of the interview? Let us know in the comments and we'll see you in the next video.